Minds Meet the Experts. I'm Jamie Agostino, your host. We are continuing our series highlighting the incredible teams behind the scenes who help accelerate credit union success every single day. Today, we're sitting down with our data analytics team to talk about how they work directly with credit unions to turn data into strategy, insight, and opportunity. From helping credit unions fully leverage the Virtus AI solution to supporting conversations around default sleuth, this team plays an important role in helping credit unions make informed decisions and better serve their members. We're excited to learn more about the impact they're making and the value they bring to Vizo Financial's credit union partners. Jeremy, Melissa, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Would you mind taking a moment and introducing yourselves and your role here at the corporate?
Sure, Jamie. Thanks for having us. My name's Jeremy Jenkins. I'm the Vice President of Data Analytics at Vizo Financial. Been at Vizo Financial for a combined total of 22 and a half years now. I figured that out the other day just because I was curious, and had a little bit of over a 5-year hiatus from here at the corporate when I went to be the CEO at a small credit union in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And so back at the corporate now in this role to help credit unions figure out how to kind of make a transition from being maybe assumptions based when it comes to strategic direction to being more evidence or data driven in how they make decisions strategically.
I'm Melissa McCullough. I am brand new to Vizo. I've been here about 4 months, and I am the growth and data analytics strategist. I come from a natural credit union background at a larger credit union in Raleigh, North Carolina, where my role was to work in the marketing team to take them from that assumptions-based marketing to more data-driven marketing to help grow products and services. And I'm excited to be here.
All right. Could you please explain the role of your team and how you are helping to accelerate credit union success?
Sure. Our role is really to work with the credit unions to help them understand their data better and then how to use that data in a practical and strategic way to drive growth, not only in membership, but in products and services, wallet share, and engage their membership in a meaningful way. So we can meet their members where they're at, not where the credit union wants them to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for kind of bigger picture too, it's helping the credit unions understand just how much is involved in making that transition from being assumptions-based to being evidence-based. Because a lot of us in credit unions have been assumptions-based for so long because we didn't really have an option. There wasn't a good data analytics layer in the credit union that we could afford or we could access easily that would get us the insights that help us make those more evidence-based decisions. So for Melissa and I, it's not only, emphasizing the importance of that, but helping them kind of think through and strategize around, okay, what all needs to change in the day-to-day at my credit union to make space for this? Because initially that transition, it's an investment or a lift, right? But then in the long run, you become much more efficient and much more effective in those communications with members and capitalizing on growth opportunities and things like that.
Okay. So when working with Vizo Financial partners like Virtus AI, what does your team do to bring those solutions to life for the member credit unions of Vizo Financial?
Sure, yeah. One of the first things we do is because Melissa and I both have the lens of having worked in a natural person credit union and understanding kind of what that's like, we're able to translate to our partners like Virtus AI, kind of what's happening at that credit union, the way we're hearing it or seeing it as we're a part of those interactions. And that's been really helpful. A lot of times a fintech, and Virtus is one that has great intentions. They're a great company. But just getting that understanding of what it's like to be working in the day-to-day, the credit union can be challenging to them. So that's one of the things that we can bring to the table is to kind of be that translator, if you will. And it's the same on the other side, right? The credit union, maybe sometimes is having some challenge in seeing the value in responding to what they're being asked to accomplish. And so we can kind of help translate that as well.
And credit unions work a little bit differently than other institutions too, right? So having some of that natural credit union experience helps us translate some of those credit union goals into actionable insights that we can actually help them move the needle on.
Okay. Yeah. So then how do you help the credit unions identify the meaningful use cases for tools like Virtus AI and Default Sleuth?
I think it comes down to really understanding what their goals are first, right? I don't think we jump right into technology. Technology is definitely a helpful partner, but it's people, process, and then technology, right? So we really want to understand what their goals are first so that we can identify what use case to match them up with the best.
Yeah, if you can see that and help them see that, then that's you're getting to early wins. And sometimes, like I said, this is a lift, right, to make this transition from where we've been to being more data driven. And so you got to find ways to feel motivated along that path. And so if you can see those opportunities to get them to quick wins, quick, simpler use cases that really highlight the value of making this transition, then it does serve to accelerate them along the way.
Okay. All right. Well, then for credit unions that are new to AI or advanced analytics, where do you typically start the conversation?
Oh gosh, it depends on, really it's just figuring out where are they, in all of this. What do they have today? Most of the credit unions that we deal with, that's the reason we're having the conversation is they just don't have an efficient way to get good visualization of their data. They're stuck dealing with siloed and messy kind of reports coming from a lot of different platforms and trying to assimilate that into something meaningful. So that's usually where we're going to start is figuring out, where is your data that we want to leverage, right? And do you trust it? Is it clean? Do you have access to it? Those kinds of things, just being able to get them started on thinking about having their arms fully around that data. And then as far as the AI piece goes, a lot of times it's helping them understand, what we're calling artificial intelligence today is not necessarily new. It's, we've been doing these kinds of things for decades. It's math. And so it's really helping, especially sometimes in leadership or at the board level, making sure they're comfortable with what AI is bringing to the table, how it's bringing that it's not necessarily anything new. What's new is we're bringing natural language interface to those mathematics and algorithms and things that have been there for decades. And because it's coming to the table via AI, it's more affordable for credit unions, which is such a great opportunity. So that's where you start. What do you have access to today that you'd like to know more about how it can inform you? And then are you comfortable with bringing AI to the table in that mix to make sure we can get you there efficiently?
Yeah, just as Jeremy said, it's really about starting simple, right? We're not trying to turn them into a technology enthusiast overnight. We're just trying to build momentum and build confidence that they can do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share an example of how data or AI insights led to a real measurable impact for a credit union?
Well, I think for credit unions, just that business intelligence is super important, right? If you don't have access to all of your data or you're not sure where it all lives, you don't know what it's telling you, having a system like Vertus being able to bring it all together, put it on a nice dashboard, transform that data for you, that makes you so much smarter than you were before you had that. And that really does lead to intelligent decisions at the C-suite level, not just in the marketing area as well. And I think that I got a couple of examples that I like to share where, so like April is a financial literacy month and youth savings month, right? That is a calendar event that happens in the marketing area. But if you look at the data for most credit unions, there is actually a life event that occurs in the summertime between June and August that you'll actually see more of a natural spike in youth account opens. And that's going to be graduation, summer jobs, getting ready for high school or college. And so it's not that doing marketing in April around Youth Savings Month is bad. It's just that you might be able to capture more of that audience if you marketed to them when your data tells you to.
Right.
Yeah, it becomes more measurable because the data informs it. And I think even some of the small wins that we see, like one for me is when I am on a call with a credit union and I hear them say, we're asking new questions of our data that we didn't ask before.
Mhm.
That is huge. And I realize it's tough to measure what that means, but it's in reality, it is super important to hear things like that. And we are hearing that as people partner with and get involved in this process. And it's simply because it's more accessible to them than it ever was before. I may not have thought to ask that question because it would have translated into me going and pulling a bunch of reports and trying to tie it all together and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of time that I didn't have versus now with the right solution, the right, goals in mind, I can quickly and efficiently get to answers for those. We've seen some really cool use cases. We had one credit union that they loved Vizo Financials and member incentive credit, the way that we do that for our credit union members.
Mhm.
And so they were able to leverage their data to mimic something like that for their members, which was they really appreciated, and I thought was a fantastic way to deepen kind of engagement with those higher tier members that they really have great relationships with. We had another one that they had been wanting to develop an understanding of like branches that they want to invest more in versus branches that they want to kind of keep, flat in the way that they invested in, and maybe even minimize or reduce the number of branches to redeploy in better areas. And so now with the data at their fingertips, they're just a lot better able to see where they should be making those changes and have evidence to support it versus just, again, having to make assumptions about what would be the right move.
Okay. Well, what are some misconceptions credit unions have about using AI or data analytics?
That it's magic, for lack of a better way of saying it. Sometimes I think, you know, again, and this gets into what I talked about earlier, that Melissa and I, our role is to help them kind of see the big picture around data analytics. You're not going to plug in Vertus AI or any other single tool and just magically overnight have a ton of growth, right? It's about figuring out, okay, now that I can see what this data does for me, the AI is helping me see it more clearly. Maybe I'm using a solution that gives me kind of some predictive analytics around where my next best opportunity with a given member lies. What can I do with that? And being able to exercise, or put in place an effort that capitalizes on that. So I think that's the biggest thing I see, and that's not happening as much recently. When we first started talking to credit unions about AI enabled analytics, there was a little bit of that. Is it some sort of magic in it? And I think as generally the population has grown in their understanding of what artificial intelligence is and how you can leverage it and what it does, and more people are familiar with using LLMs and all that kind of stuff, there's less of that. People come to the table a little more understanding of what the potential is. But yeah, that's the biggest thing, is maybe thinking that this will fix an issue for you completely without the complete understanding of, what the credit union itself is going to need to invest to make that happen.
Okay.
I also think that there can be some hesitation around costs as well. A lot of the time, you see these advertisements for these big fancy systems that are ridiculously expensive, especially for our smaller credit unions who they don't have that kind of budget and they don't have the resources to run that kind of system either. Whereas that's what makes our partnership with Vertus AI so special, is that we are really bringing something really unique but useful and super helpful to the member credit unions at a really affordable price.
Yeah.
All right. What challenges do credit unions face when they're trying to adopt the data-driven strategies, and how does your team then help them overcome them?
One of the biggest challenges from my personal experience that I've always seen is it's really, really hard to let go of that marketing calendar. And it's really, really hard to move from insight to action. Like that step is huge. There's a lot of work in that step because you have to figure out, do you have the right people? Do you have the right process? And I think that's a big hurdle that credit unions get hung up on, and understandably, because if you've never done it before, how do you know where to start? And that's where Jeremy and I are going to come in and make sure that the credit union has the support and the resources that they need to make that transition as smooth as possible and to help them move that needle so they can go from just not having, now they won't just have insights, now they'll have action and the insights to go with it.
Yeah. Yep, I totally agree. I would say a simple word would be inertia, right? Like you,
Mhm.
you kind of have that way that you've always accomplished things, and you've got really great people on your teams that the way we've always done it has been the best we could do, and it's been acceptable and everything else. So when you come to the table and say, okay, we're going to shift. So that example that Melissa gave earlier about the youth savings accounts and when's the right time to really be in the market with those, it's a perfect example of letting go of the calendar, letting go of the things that we always did, and maybe realizing the opportunity to approach it differently. I'll give you an example in my past. We had a really great auto loan refinance campaign that we ran at very specific times of the year. Well, the reality is, if we had better access to our data, we had people in our membership that all throughout the year were in the prime spot for that campaign, right? But we only ran at certain times of the year. So I think it's just getting that inertia to stop, and that takes work, and it's we're resource constrained in credit unions, right? When I speak publicly, I always make the comment and I say, in credit unions we all wear a lot of, and then I stop and the room says hats, because they all know that phrase, because we hear it so much. And so I think that's really just one of the big challenges, is that desire is there to make the migration to being data driven and pursuing this really personalized relationship with each member individually. But the work it takes to shift gears and think that way can be challenging.
Mhm.
So, looking ahead, how do you see the role of data and AI evolving in helping credit unions better serve their members to help accelerate the credit union into the future?
Yeah, it's all about being able to be predictive and very personalized in the way that you're approaching the member. So if you think about you sit down at night to watch something on Netflix, or you listen to your music on Spotify, you buy something on Amazon, you almost don't have to think about it, right? They bring the recommendations that are tailored to you, and that is all based on the data that you've left behind and how you live your life and how you use those platforms. And so for credit unions, I think that's where the win is, and where they will, be able to leverage these tools to accelerate their growth, is when they start to be able to see with confidence what is the next best offering I have, or the solution I have that meets the need of this individual. And on the other side, their member starts to feel like this credit union is serving me exclusively, because you have to think about the world we live in now. A huge percentage of what we're doing for our members, especially the younger ones, is on the other side of a screen. We don't get to talk to them face to face like we used to. So this going down this pathway and being able to get good at bringing those personalized recommendations, the best kind of what's next to that individual member, and deliver it digitally, that's where we're going to build, deep relationships that help us carry out our mission to be people helping people, in the decades to come, because we're not going to get to do it face to face like we've always done it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think being proactive is really where this is headed, like right member, right product or service, right time, right channel.
Yep.
That's where everything is headed, and that's our goal, is to help our credit unions get there.
All right. Well, listening to you talk about that, Jeremy, I couldn't help but saying, you're saying if I just say "Dear Jamie," that's not personalizing it. So
That's personalized, not personalization,
Yes.
so
sometimes I think people get that confused. So I apologize.
yeah.
So, any final comments you'd like to share with our audience on how your roles help credit unions succeed?
I really think that our role is to help build confidence in our credit union members, to help them embrace the technology that they have at their fingertips, to understand their data and then action on that data, to make good strategic choices that help them grow their credit union, because we love credit unions and we want to see them succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just the fact that Melissa and I are both here to have this conversation, the corporate's making an investment in helping credit unions down this pathway, right? And we're doing it in conjunction with great partners like, Vertus AI, Default Sleuth. Our member credit unions told us, we need help with this getting, and what is it the one said? We all have a bunch of data, but we don't have great information, right? That's kind of the concern that we're trying to solve with this initiative. And we're in it to help credit unions succeed. We get to serve credit unions, so maybe it's selfish. We want to make sure you're all healthy and growing and succeeding in the long term. And so yeah, I love that. That's why I came back to the corporate, honestly, because I know how difficult it can be, especially in the small credit union segment, to get data to help you, and wanted to be a part of seeing us do that with as many credit unions as we can.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining us today and sharing more information about what's happening within the data analytics team. It's clear that your conversations, the insights, and the strategic guidance are helping credit unions better understand their data, identifying the opportunities, and making stronger decisions for the future. I'd also like to take a moment and thank Vizo Financial's partner, Vertus AI, for sponsoring today's episode. Wouldn't it be great if you could push a button and see which specific products and services your members want most? Vizo Financial has teamed up with Vertus AI to provide you with the intel and predictions on what your members want and when they want it, using a combination of existing member data as well as AI. Vizo Financial is ready to harness AI personalized engagement, scale membership, and drive economic participation like never before. To learn more about Vizo Financial and the partnership with Vertus AI, please visit our website at www.vfccu.org or contact your Vizo Financial corporate account manager. Thanks for tuning in to Financial Minds Meet the Experts. Join us next week for our final Meet the Team series episode, where I am joined by Vizo Financial's executive team. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and make it a great day.